Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Game of Thrones is done, Mad Men is done. We move on to the newsroom, which is not the same kind of show.
Welcome to the dog days of summer.
Yeah, in any way. But it's an interesting show. Cenk, Alonzo Duralde, John Iadarola, Cenk Uygur, Ben Mankiewicz. Cenk, on the current show last year, we did the highest rated segments of the current show. When we talked about Newsroom, because for whatever reason, even though last season was one of the worst seasons of dramatic television I've ever seen in my entire life, we couldn't stop watching it. There was something glorious mixed in with all this just insufferable narcissism.
It's Smash without the musical numbers.
That's right. That's exactly. Yeah. So here we are now at season 2. And I mean, we'll turn it over first. We'll go to Alonzo. But this episode was first thing we do. Let's kill all the lawyers. Obviously, that's from Henry VI.
According to Wikipedia, obviously.
Yeah, John looked it up. Whatever. I thought that this was, first of all, markedly different and better, much better. But I fear just enough better to make this a waste of time. Alonzo.
Well, it's funny. We were talking beforehand. I mean, season 1, I vacillated between moments that I thought were just brilliant and ones that I just would kind of roll my eyes at. And this was an almost all eye-rolling episode.
Really?
Like, if it weren't for this, last night's episode would have been the one to make me go, okay, I'm out. I'm
really?
done. Yeah,
really?
I don't know.
Why?
Because it sort of dwelled on all the things that I care the least about, like that love triangle business, which I never have found interesting or well
By the way,
portrayed.
No one in America cares about that love interest. I mean, everyone in America hates all those people.
Yeah.
All of the actors involved are uninterested at this point.
Yeah, you know, and it was one of those episodes with lots of dudgeon, you know, lots of my principles and the blah, 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 and it just, you know,
Really?
they make me
I
nuts.
thought there was less of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but here we're seeing Will care more about how much the audience loves him, and he feels burned that he's lost a part of the audience for seeing the American Taliban,
Right.
and he seems less principled.
But that was a big problem for me. I've heard American Taliban thrown around fairly willy-nilly on the left, and nobody cared. And on this show, they make it out like, ooh, he said this taboo phrase, and you know, repercussions going all the way to the top.
Anchor levying this, like after a full episode of laying it out, saying you're the American Taliban, or was it a blogger or something
Well,
like?
like
or
you said,
Cenk
you've heard it
or
on the
something
left,
like that.
but you don't really hear it from Brian Williams.
Right, but what I'm saying though is I've heard it on MSNBC, let's say, which is sort of the anodyne of this show, of that network, and nobody stopped the presses, like nobody cared. It was just a phrase. It was a phrase that got thrown around. And this show, they make it out to be, you know, I was talking to Brett, who said that it was the same thing on Studio 60, where you know they made a big deal about this sketch that was going to get them all into trouble, and it wound up being called Crazy Christians.
Right.
You know, I think
Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, the first horrible, unwatchable, worst show in the history of television that I watched all 22 episodes of. Yeah.
Now, look, that's what makes this show a little interesting, though, because and unrealistic at the same time, in a good way and in a bad way. Here's what I mean by that. On MSNBC, back like when in the day, they wouldn't have imagined saying that either. Okay, now they got to the point where they would say it, but in this show, it's not MSNBC,
Right,
it's
CNN.
NBC.
Or CNN, right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
According to the graphics package, it's CNN.
Okay,
It's ripped entirely off of CNN.
Right, and so it's supposed to be a neutral source, and that's how they all act, the executives act, the reporters act, et cetera, right? And so, yeah, I'm with Ben. If Brian Williams or Anderson Cooper had said American Taliban, there would have been outrage. CNN would have been banned from the bus. But it's also unrealistic, and that's the whole point of the show. Because Anderson Cooper and Brian Williams would never say that in a million years, because in fact, none of them have the principle of Will McAvoy, and that's why the show is in some ways both maddening, because that's never going to happen on TV, and at the same time great, because hey, that's what we want to happen.
I mean, you guys are the pros, so you can parse this better than I do as far as the inside baseball of the show. My takeaway from season 1 was this was the lost season of Countdown with Keith Olbermann. I felt he was much more of a shooting from the hip, saying controversial stuff, injecting himself and his opinions into things. So Will McAvoy saying American Taliban to me was, well, if Olbermann said American Taliban, nobody would blink, because that's the sort of thing he would say all the time.
I think what you're right about Olbermann, and there are many, perhaps even Olbermann himself, who thinks the Will McAvoy persona was lifted from Olbermann. There is unquestionably a great deal of Keith Olbermann in that. But it is as if Keith Olbermann were at CBS.
That's
And-
Oh,
That's
okay.
exactly
It's
it.
di- yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll
That's
buy that.
exactly it. And it's unquestionably based on Oberman.
Yeah.
But whenever you write fiction, you take something that might have happened in your personal experience, and then you change it and change it and change it and change it. So it's loosely based on him. Probably about 30% remains, but 70% is a different context that he wrote into it. Right.
I just want to feel the shock in the moment of this thing in the context of the show, so that the repercussions make sense and don't feel like they're coming out of
And
nowhere.
We're always going to lose out on some of that shock so long as they're covering stories that are 2 years old by the time we watch it. I think, but also one of the reasons I liked.
That's an interesting device.
No,
because it gives us
enjoy
perspective on it.
Yeah, exactly. Although some people say that that's why Sorkin comes off as so full of himself, because yeah, of course, everybody has great hindsight 2 years after the story broke. But what I like about the reaction to the American Taliban comment is one of my problems with the Will McAvoy character in the first season is he's just too confident and too perfect and too invincible. Like
Yes.
he always has a snappy comeback, nothing bad happens except for a drink being thrown in his face. But now he's actually facing consequences for what he did, and you can see it affecting the way he's reacting to stories later on. And I think that makes the character much more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. He became he showed some authentic vulnerability. The vulnerability that he showed last year was the nonsense with the love life, where you're like, Jesus, you love her, she loves you, she cheated on you 3 years ago, she wants you back.
Get over
Like, get over it, or don't, or go out with other girls, but stop talking about this. This is, and
See, let me just jump in there to disagree with Alonzo again, because here at least they took the Mackenzie love thing out, at least for the purpose of this episode. There wasn't that schmaltzy thing, which seems so unrealistic, not only for Will McAvoy, but for Mackenzie, who's supposed to be this tough, competent, awesome executive producer, and she'd be bumbling and tripping over stuff. And so at least the first episode didn't have that, so I felt like that was 50% win.
And I like that they, I like that they show her being super competent in the creation of the show. Although I have to say, watching that moment, I thought I loved this when Holly Hunter did it 25 years ago in broadcast news.
true.
Totally, and second of all, that never happens, right? Like you might have a tape that's off or whatever. I mean, there's so many things that are wonderfully unrealistic about this, right? Like, if they caught that they had the wrong thing with it, I don't know what CNN does.
I'm gonna
but-
disagree with you on that. They'd fix it. First of all, maybe not right now, but there was a long era where they unquestionably would have fixed it. They would never have said the French authorities have charged him when they haven't charged him. They would have switched it. And I loved that was I wish they'd played with the voice more because it would have sounded different, but I loved her attempting to fix it. And I think that was as dramatic a moment of reaction to criticism from a season that a producer took. Like, I've made these women bumbling
Yes.
and a joke, and so I'm going to, right off the bat, I'm going to show you
Look
the
how competent they are.
greatest producer you've ever seen.
Yeah,
Right,
so
yeah.
my problem with that was the second half of that when the board goes down.
Unnecessary. but,
And
um,
an executive producer knows how to solve a technical issue that's incredibly complicated.
No, but she didn't solve a technical issue. She came up with a solution that used the remaining resources they still had, one camera angle and graphics hardwired directly to the monitor. Like, it's not that she knows how to fix the tech problems, it's that she fully understands what they're capable of doing.
Game of Thrones may be over, you're still a dork.
She knows how to go through a window when the door is closed. That's what that
Not
moment was
buying
about.
it. The thing doesn't break in the middle of the show, and the executive producer doesn't know
was
how to
just-
do a
it
technical
was-
I
fix.
thought Anonymous was hacking them or something.
So
They
did
were
I.
making
I
it sound like a
totally
big
thought they were
deal.
getting
Yeah.
hacked.
I actually did.
But I totally thought they were being hacked. But it doesn't, like, it was a moment of, like, we did the first one. Like, we got it. We don't need the other one right after. Just do it.
Although, again,
overwritten.
so-
Over the top. He's
Over the
always
top.
over the
over
And
the-
then
yeah.
she performs infant CPR.
So he's trying to respond to some of the criticism that females basically are just bumbling fools, even if they're supposed to be like fully full of themselves and well educated. But I love that he couldn't help with the money skirt comment at Sloan Sabbath, that like she is just, she's the girl in the skirt.
I didn't
and then
understand.
also,
I couldn't hear one line that those people said to each other. I tried rewinding
That
it
Char-
every conversation I missed. I'm sorry I interrupted. but-
Closed captioning is very helpful.
yeah, it was, yeah.
But also the intern comes in and she had that great moment at the end of the season where he's like, "You're what makes America great" and all that. I love that moment. But what's she doing now? She's looking up musicals and stuff. Like, he still can't give women consistent respect throughout an entire episode.
I took that as she's an intern and these are his quirks. He loves musical theater. It's like, if I did an intern and I was like, oh no, I'm going to show you the ropes, like I would be in that position. But you got to tell me who's the last 30 National League most valuable players.
Really, one reason I think that scene might make sense is it sort of struck me as possibly like a Karate Kid sort of thing, where it's not that she's researching musicals, it's that you are going to do 5 minutes of research and understand all of these facts.
right.
It could be like a wax on, wax off sort of thing.
There's going to be a payoff to the manner in which he's trained her. Down
And
the
of
road.
course, it's clearly been set up now that the big arc of this season is to find out what happened to Alison Pill's hair. So I'm on the edge of my seat for that one.
It's not a good haircut.
So
No.
here's some. So number one, to address all the things that you guys all brought up, they might have, the fixes might have hurt it in that sense, because Dave Weigel had a great line on Twitter about this. Dave writes for Slate. He said, "Can't wait to get everybody in the room and do some hate watch."
Right.
Okay.
Right. No, that's
But if you don't hate it now and you don't love it and it becomes in the middle, then you might become indifferent.
Well, it's interesting. That makes me. I mean, I don't know. Dave Weigel should feel good because he shares my opinion. I don't care about sharing his. That was my initial fear, really, almost following our conversation 20 minutes before we started here, was that I liked it much better, but I don't know that I liked it enough to where I actually find it to be a great drama, or a drama like Breaking Bad and Mad Men and Game of Thrones and so
You
many
guys are
others.
crazy.
So
You have talked me into staying tuned. I will say that much.
if you remove they won't remove all the sanctimony, but if they remove 82% of the sanctimony, and then it just becomes maybe a show that doesn't consistently deliver, and then they're in a very dangerous place. But obviously, I'll give it. You literally liked season 1?
So here's the thing, like I liked it more than both the average American, but also more than the people who sort of hate it. Like, I understand that, like, Anna was texting me like, oh, this still sucks. I liked it more than that.
God bless her.
Now, I will admit, I'm not like a total fanboy. Like, the more you look closely at any part of it, the more it doesn't really hold up. Like, I loved, like, McAvoy's first speech where he's talking about what America used to be like and everything. But man, the more you analyze that speech, the more ridiculous it seems. Like, oh yeah, back in the 50s, America had no problems and everything. So there are definitely problems with it, but it's an exciting show. It's got interesting dialogue. It's occasionally funny. There are little twists and things like that. So I do enjoy it. I look forward to it.
No, and no.
Okay, now look. Before I get into my main criticism of it, let's not overlook why we're watching it in the first place. There's something great that it does that no one else did, right? It gives us the fantasy of principled journalists in television.
Principled, activist, attentive
Right.
journalist, interested in truth, not fairness.
Right, and not interested in partisanship, but interested in challenging the government, the Republican
Status
Party,
quo,
the
yeah.
status quo, and need be the Democratic Party. Remember, Will McAvoy's a Republican, and like me, I get the sense from the show he doesn't care at all about the Democrats.
No, and
right?
we're about to get into clearly a season-long conversation about drones and the Obama administration.
Right.
And Occupy.
And Occupy, right. Yeah.
So
And possibly, by the way, Trayvon Martin. The time frame, I believe, is going to encapsulate that. They might bring it up. But anyway.
So the fact that they're doing what all of us wanted CNN to do and never did, and do it in an over-the-top, brilliant way, So Will McAvoy's unrealistic and every character is unrealistic because they have those snappy comebacks. They talk a million miles an hour, and everything they say is brilliant, unless he wants them to appear dumb, in which case they immediately switch over to being incredibly stupid. I get that, right? But at least you wanted CNN to say, hey, wait a minute, shouldn't we call out the Republican Party if they're doing this? Shouldn't we call out the government if they're doing that? So that's what's great about the show. It lets us fantasize about what should have been, right? And so I still enjoy that. I still like all that.
I agree.
Now the thing is, on the critique, what's fascinating is that I don't think the show changed as much as I changed, and I think the world around us changed in the year since episode 1 and season one and season 2. Okay, because before, when I was watching season 1, I thought this is really relevant. I wish that people at CNN would watch this and learn something from it, because this could be the most important show on television if the right people watch it and go, oh, Jesus, they're right. They're right. Why didn't we do that? Why aren't we challenging both parties, right?
That's as unrealistic as the dialogue on the show.
Exactly.
But I hear you. Go on.
They weren't Monday morning quarterbacking. They were 2013 quarterbacking, which is, you've got tons of perspective at that point.
Right. So now, in that year, what's changed is I came to the realization, who am I kidding?
They're not watching. Right.
No, they probably are watching.
Oh, please.
Right?
They're glued to it because it might be about them.
Exactly. CNN is never going to change. The network news is never going to change. they're just going to look at this and find a way to criticize it and dismiss it and do their own rationalizations. It is inconceivable.
Or even
Dismiss
say,
it.
oh, if only we could do that, but of course we can't.
Of course we can. And why
Either-
can't you? Because
right,
of
either they'll
advertisers and
say,
sponsors.
either they'll
They
say
might do their
that
job.
it can't be done, or that it's some liberal fantasy.
Right, exactly. So I gave up on between the 2 seasons, I gave up on the hope that CNN learns anything from it, right?
Yeah, Fox News actually called this show liberal fantasy, and I tweeted that the liberal fantasy is on HBO and conservative fantasy is on Fox News.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I
But,
saw one review at least that was saying that, like, oh, he said he was going to have this show where it's just about the facts and everything, but it ended up being exactly the same thing as Rachel Maddow or any other liberal. I mean, I don't think that that's really true. I think that that's just another way to marginalize it. I don't
right.
remember which
That's
review
right.
that was,
That's
but
right. And so the industry as writ large will do that and has done that.
But real quick, I know you got to finish, but that's a review that wants to just say that what MSNBC and what Current does is just the antidote to Fox,
Exactly.
and they're both as wrong. We know neither of them have. There's no truth in any of them.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the second thing that changed for me is who gives a shit what CNN thinks? Like, before, CNN I viewed to be really relevant because they were agenda setting, they were large, they had this big audience, but they also were a media multiplier. What happened on CNN affected local news and local radio, etc. So is that still true? Yes, of course, largely it's still true, but it's waning and waning and waning. And I think, you know what, if CNN doesn't get fixed, and I use CNN as mainstream media, overall, in 10 years it isn't going to matter because they're on a sinking ship. They already hit the iceberg. All right, CNN, don't change. It doesn't matter. You're going to go under because you're not going to change. So all of this grandiosity, pomposity about all the news and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? YouTube's going to pulverize you anyway.
Look, just keep giving me Jane Fonda and Marcia
Yeah.
Gay Harden in power suits at boardroom tables, and I'm in. So
It's but Jane Fonda, man, you get a moment. I don't know whether you guys get this as much as me and Alonso do, but Jane Fonda, that scene is 78 times better than if that were some veteran television actress. It's just different. It has more power. It's Jane Fonda. It's Jane
she's
Fonda.
an amazing actress, and the added bonus that she's the former Mrs. Ted Turner.
Right.
I think
Totally.
really just
Right, right.
it's a full package.
One little question I want to bring up. So obviously, what another stylistic change they made was the slightly different music, but also the dramatically different intro.
Oh yeah,
what did you think about that?
Those pompous credits from season 1. Thank God
Yeah,
those
thank
are
God
gone.
that's it.
Because that was so the news, so important. And now it's no, we're at a job and we're doing our thing, and this is all the pieces
More
get
The
put
Office.
together. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Alonzo, I know you want to talk about the Occupy aspect a little bit. And that's the moments like that is when I think Aaron Sorkin watches The Young Turks. Okay. and the actor's name is Dev Patel, right?
Right.
And he usually does it through Dev
How
Patel.
many hits on what's the number now? Views?
On The Young Turks?
Yeah.
1,071 million or so.
What? Aaron Sorkin's not one of those? It's entirely possible.
Right. Because not only did he take the Dev Patel thing where I once was talking about Bigfoot could be real, right? And he did this whole thing, right? So that was cutesy and we were laughing about that. And of course, a lot of the arguments are very similar to the arguments we make, and we're nonpartisan. We don't like either one of the parties, yada, yada. All that stuff is standard. But in this Occupy, the criticism of Occupy, not the pro-Occupy, but the criticism Dev Patel does of Occupy is almost word for word from the Young Turks. Why didn't you just stick with money in politics? Why didn't you just have a clear message? All this horizontal management isn't going to work. It's like somebody watched all of our shows and then goes back 2 years and is gives them the advice you wish somebody had given them
Right.
when they first started.
It's not Keith Olbermann.
Okay, so my nephew who's watching with 22 years old, etc. He's like, dude, we should say it's you. I'm like, except for the fact that it's clearly not me in 128 different ways.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean
Well, this guy can read a prompter.
He
also goes without a proper.
He does go without a prompter
There
too.
you
That's
go.
true. That's true.
No, I mean, I think the lesson of ACT UP that Occupy never learned is that non-hierarchical can only take you so far, and then whoever shouts the loudest wins, and it's just,
Right, and that right.
Yeah, and she kind of dismissed that. Oh, we believe in a horizontal structure. Go on. Why do you think that will work? You can't just restate it with a cool sounding title.
Was there anybody at Occupy Wall Street that cute?
It's funny because my nephew said the same thing.
Wait, no. What's her face who goes on Up all the time? Who she used to work on Wall Street, now she's Occupy, and she
they were
occupied the
obviously-
SEC. She's super brainy and very
You
telegenic.
can go back and watch our
Yeah, there
YouTube
were
clips
some-
on it.
yeah.
There were some beautiful girls there, including one that was doing nude body painting. So you might
The,
want to check that out on
I'm drawn to
YouTube.
this conversation.
This
Agree.
is a Sorkin technique that he's going to use this year. All of it sort of framed through a deposition that was the Social Network, right?
Yes,
that's right.
actually, yeah.
And I think it's something else too, but I feel like it was something else. But anyway, it's a very effective storytelling method. I think that seems like it'll be better.
He did write A Few Good Men too, which is
Right,
also
Few Good Men,
yeah.
right. So then we have. So I like that part of it. I think that'll be interesting, and I'm interested to know what Genoa was. I did some reading, and it sounds like it's based on Time magazine. Did some stories about sort of something that the government had alleged to done in Laos during the Vietnam War, and this may be taken from that. Right, Tailwind. Thank you.
I looked that up too.
You looked that up too. So that they're taking it from that. But was Tailwind totally discredited? Did you go that far? Do we know?
I believe it was totally discredited, but it was also very similar to what they were
So-
so far describing. The use
So
of
it turns
nerve
out, in
gas
this
and
case,
stuff
right,
like
that we use sarin gas in Pakistan or something, but that, but again, that it won't be true at all. That it's totally untrue, and that's like so again a mistake, like a big mistake, an important mistake.
Yeah.
So, one reason to keep watching Newsroom and one reason to keep watching these reviews. Okay. One reason to keep watching Newsroom is, look, A Few Good Men. Come on, it's over the top. Like, you can't handle the truth. Come on, right? Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise. So that's what Sorkin does. He does.
Tom Cruise with the glasses. That's
Right, yeah.
Maybe his finest
Come
moment
on.
back.
You're right.
So brilliant. Yeah.
And West Wing over the top in so many different ways in so many different scenes. So I serve at the pleasure of the president, right? But if you missed A Few Good Men, you'd have to go back and rewatch it, right? You can't miss A Few Good Men.
No.
And if you
Or
miss
Social Network. Or,
right,
you know.
exactly. So you're gonna have to watch Newsroom because even if it's over the top, even if he butchers the romances, etc., because there's some chance you're gonna look back and go, I can't believe I missed that.
Right. There's going to be a
Or
moment.
these.
There's
Like
good-
it or
right.
not, this is the zeitgeist. So
There may
Drink
be a
it up.
moment that you get out of your chair and pump your fist, and that
Yeah.
doesn't happen in most television.
And hopefully,
That doesn't happen in most television.
hopefully, if you do pump your fist, it doesn't look as awkward as when Olivia Munn did it in her weird little way. But I do love her on the show.
She's like literally, she's my favorite
she's
character
great.
on the
No,
show
I
because
like her
she
too.
has a realistic, credible vulnerability that nobody else has. Everybody else seems.
It's not the walking into doors kind
But I
of
mean, enough. Like really.
Although she
quick.
did tap the guy in the chest.
We
last
got to
season.
go. But the romance, the three-way, that love triangle, it's just. It's
They
America's
put it down some.
least interest love triangle. By the way, Jank, I like that you thought getting out of the chair and pumping your fist. If only you didn't do it consistently for 2.5 Men.
I've lost a little bit of
Takes the sting out.
credibility there. But again, to conclude, the reason to watch these reviews, we've got the best expert on Game of Thrones and the best expert on Mad Men. They're in the same review. And Ben and I have kind of lived Newsroom.
Right, that's right.
I mean, if you're going to watch a review
is
of
it.
Newsroom,
This
right?
is it. This is it.
Look no further, people.
Right.
Really quick prediction that I think is going to make you guys hate the show. I think that the chance that, so he's off on the Romney bus, he is so going to meet some other staffer or something. She's probably going to be conservative because they're broken up back in New York, so
Right.
something has to be brought in.
Of course.
And
No,
so
he's
that
gonna
love
meet
triangle is
somebody
going to
else.
Have
become
Carville
a,
Madeline sex.
I don't
Yeah,
want
it's
any
gonna
of
be
those
rough.
people to have sex ever again.
Unless it's Olivia Munn and with you.
Totally different story. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Be back next week for episode 2 of, can't remember the newsroom.